Representative Kimberly Fiorello from Greenwich.
Hi.
How are you doing, State Representative? How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I want to introduce you a little bit here. Born in Seoul, South Korea, grew up in Reston, Virginia. Her father worked in the Defense Department. You attended the U.S. Military Academy at West Point before transferring to Harvard College, degree in economics, first job at Solomon Brothers. I love this part of your bio. Most exciting job as a reporter in Hong Kong for the Wall Street Journal. That may be a whole other segment we can get into someday, Representative. Hardest job in a kitchen at a New York City restaurant. I understand that. And your most rewarding job being a wife and a mom. So I want to give a little bit of an introduction there from your bio and then get into this. We've been talking about this all day. This matters to me. Your reaction to this is what angered me to a point that I said I'm going to talk about it for 3 hours on the radio. Not that because it was so natural. You allowed your Democratic representative to say that she disagreed, and I thought I could feel your pain. And so I appreciate you calling in, and I just want to get an idea of what your reaction was when it, what was going in your head at that moment. I thought you handled it professionally.
Well, it's these situations where you hear something that sounds so unbelievable. It's hard to figure out how to react, but with some time passing, I feel that the conclusion I've come to is that Rep. Winkler, like so many of our state leaders and leaders across our country, have very good intentions. But ultimately, no matter what your intentions are, if your thinking is race-based, you cannot help but come across sounding bigoted. And he tried to articulate a hierarchy of victimhood among the minority races. And, he was very forthright and firm that he felt that one race was more valid in their suffering than another race. And, that's the danger in having race-based thinking and being in a position of power. Because we don't want government policies and laws that treat people differently and create these special categories. Government policies and laws really should see people blindly. We don't want laws that truly elevate certain groups above others because we know that ultimately, we are individuals, and what brings us to success, we want to categorize it by seeing it through the lens of the law. What these politicians categorize as success, there are so many prerequisites that go into what makes someone successful, and trying to craft a blunt tool like laws by folks who have this race-based thinking, it doesn't bode well for all of us in Connecticut.
The race-based thinking seems to be really focused on your town there that you represent in Greenwich. You're a Republican House member. You're Asian American. You've been to West Point. You've been to Harvard. You come from a family in the Defense Department, and you are as American as they come. So when you hear that, and you are a minority, so when you hear that the town you represent that elected an Asian American Republican woman to serve them in the House, and you have Justin Elliker come out and say, how racist Greenwich is, or you have Winkler make this, Winkler trying to act woke, and that fact of acting woke shows how unwoke he was. Nobody calls that out ever. But, what do you want to tell to people that are trying to make Greenwich blocking every minority at the door when you're a minority who was elected from the town?
Yeah, no, it reveals their own bigoted thinking. Who is the racist? Racist means someone who is thinking through the lens of race, where you see value in a person based on their skin color. How much more unenlightened can you be? And, to these folks, the fact that Greenwich statistically has a certain, to be honest, I don't even care for keeping track of all of these statistics. Yeah. I cringe when I have to fill out that my children are XYZ race and this and that and such, because ultimately we're Americans and we're very unique in the world in that way. And we're a country that's founded on the idea that we as human beings have something greatly in common. It's innate, it's inalienable, and it's a right to life that all human beings share, and a right to make choices and to live freely. And that's why our country has been and continues to be such a beacon to people of all colors. There's just no other place that people, when you want to be free, you wake up and you want to get to the United States.
Yes.
In China, at Tiananmen Square, those folks, when they're striving for freedom, they read the American Declaration of Independence. Mm-hmm. So, it's sad for me to have, the statistics of Greenwich be discounted because the equality of the racial minority here is just not valid in the eyes of folks.
Yeah, you're not minority enough. Greenwich, 37% of the town, of the schools are minorities, but it's not. That's a racist town all of a sudden. I mean, it just seems like they're trying to fit this national agenda on some of these bills, and Greenwich is an easy target, for the Working Family Party social wing of the Democrats. But then when something like this happens and one of their own puts his foot in his mouth, silence, crickets. I give Attorney General Tong respect for speaking out. Nobody else in the party seems to be. Would you have time to hold on to the break here if it's a couple minutes?
Yes.
And we get back? Thank you, Representative. We're with Representative Kimberly Fiorello, and we'll be talking we'll be back just after this. We're here with State Representative Kimberly Fiorello, sworn into her first term in office just this January 6, 2021. Certainly a date everybody will remember. Quite a day to start off in politics, Representative. How's your first month going? First 2 months, I should say.
Well, it's going great, and I know that in many ways I represent a lot of the Asian community in our state. We're 5% Asian in the state of Connecticut. In my town, as we discussed before, we are 27% non-white, and a big percentage of that are Asians. But it's an interesting time to have a platform to speak out. And for many Asians, my brother and my family down in Virginia, we often talk to each other about the elderly attacks we see on Asians or businesses being vandalized. But we have to hold in our minds, two truths. There's the truth of the history of, the Chinese Exclusion Act that the American government passed, the concentration camps during World War II. And there's still the truth that the country, as I said before, is founded on recognizing all people, all human beings have inalienable rights, and the government is set up in a limited fashion to protect individual rights. And so I'm very grateful to be in this position because I don't go along with whatever is de rigueur these days. I'm very proud to be Korean. I speak Korean. I was invited to be an honorary board member for a Korean American regional association, and I'm very proud of all that. And I remember when I was young, and even my children now, when they're invited to share culture in their school, we share about holidays that Koreans celebrate and Korean Independence Day from Japanese occupation. All of that is a part of, who I am. But I also hold very dear to the American ethic, which is we strive to recognize individuals and individual rights. And when we look at the individual and creating opportunities for individuals, that's what makes our country so beautiful. And it's also how we have to keep disciplining ourselves and keep saying, as Martin Luther King said, see past the skin color, see past what's on the surface. And this means, even people with disabilities, folks who you could sort of read more into who they are by how they dress or et cetera, but to try to get to the content of one's character. And that takes patience and discipline, and we have to become a citizenry who is more thoughtful. And I'm grateful, in these first few months of being in this new job to be able to speak out and encourage my fellow citizens to do as Dr. King said.
I appreciate that you're taking the time here to do it too. I mean, Have you dealt with, as a minority, have you dealt with the discrimination yourself over the years? You were at some high-profile places, West Point, Harvard.
Absolutely. I was at West Point when it was just the 20th year that women were allowed there.
Sure.
So I was always one of just a handful of women in any room I walked into. And as a minority, I was certainly one of just a few Asian cadets at the academy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you struggle with this idea that Asians are the model minority, proof that you can rise through the middle class. And yet there's also the yellow peril. You can't have too many Asians, which is why my alma mater, Harvard, strives to have a particular balance and just enough Asians, but not too many. So, yes, I see the racism. My children feel it. When I spoke on the floor regarding a legislation that I did not agree with, I spoke about my son and the racial epithets and slurs that he endures, being half Asian, but looking, more like his mom. Mm-hmm. So, but that doesn't change the fact that we still live in a wonderful country. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful every day that I'm American and that my kids are here and that I get to represent the Constitution state. Mm-hmm. So I hold both truths in my head and strive every day to represent the people of Greenwich well.
You've had an accomplished career. Does going through some of that inspire you to work harder? I mean, some people can really be brought down when they have an experience of being discriminated against, or not getting a fair shot because of their skin color or their gender or their religion. For you've got a heck of a career. Did it inspire you? Were you able to turn that around and use it to your advantage to drive you more?
It's interesting. If there's discrimination I feel these days, it's mostly because I'm conservative. And, the viewpoints I have are not popular and very often canceled. And I see folks around me who feel they can't speak out or, their jobs will be at risk. But, yes, it gives me courage. We have to be assertive, and it's a conversation, and that's actually why what happened with Rep. Winkler, I think, is so valuable. I don't look to laws to legislate behavior and change, racist thinking, but it's this kind of open conversation. Like, that's why freedom of speech is so important.
Yeah, amen.
You have to be able to speak your minds, and then we battle it out. This is what you and I are doing, and all of your wonderful listeners. We are engaging in a civil conversation, and that's actually how we persuade and move the needle on our culture. And if Rep. Winkler, that didn't happen, we wouldn't be having this conversation about what is it that our political leaders think, and what does race-based thinking lead to? Well, there's a perfect example. Race-based thinking leads to, a bigotry.
Let me tell you, this is something I really appreciate you taking the time. I mean, I think we've heard from a lot of Democrats talking about race. To hear from a Republican woman who is in the middle of this all at the Capitol, give her side. I would love to have you back. I could talk to you for the 3-hour show, Representative. And so I know we got the zoning reform bill that we'd love to get into the nitty gritty there. We've got this mansion tax, and I mean some of these other things that are popping up. Governor Lamont's wife's hedge fund getting no big contracts to do COVID testing. We'd love to have you back to talk about all these things in the near future.
Those are all such important topics, and I always strive to share as much information as possible with the great people of Connecticut. So thank you for all your work, and thank you to all your listeners.
Thank you. That's Representative Kimberly Fiorello from Greenwich, the 149th District. If you want to check out her bio on the Google, we'll talk to you again soon, Representative. Thanks again.